for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rock on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. In the city, where the roar meets the night, the Lions charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rocked on, Detroit Lions will rise. Rocked on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. With every game, we rise and unite. Feeling the passion igniting the light. Through highs and lows, we'll stand as one. A legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar. Together we cry. Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices. Let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions, we'll always be proud.
All right. Hey, sorry about the delay, everybody. I'm still not feeling the greatest. And I at least wanted to get in today to at least get something done early. All right, we've got a long wait before the game, as you guys have already recognized. A lot of you don't want to wait till 8:20 p.m., but I tell you what, it's going to be an epic night of football. It really is. This is a tough match for the Detroit Lions. And I've seen all over social media where I feel like Lions fans are kind of discounting the Texans. And I would say that's a mistake. This is going to be a very, very tough game. Now, even if we walk in and win, and maybe we win by double digits, I'm not saying that's my take, but if it happens, this is a very tough team. That just means we're an even better team. Very tough defense. Very, very tough defense. I'm going to bring in, quite a few quotes that I found this morning on the Texans side, where they have either interviewed or have gotten quotes from the Lions side here. And there's a lot of things being said that should probably wake us up a little bit. We have faced some really good defenses. I'd say the Vikings are probably one of the better defenses we've faced this entire season. The Rams, right there with them. When healthy, I would say that those are the two best defenses we've probably faced all season. This defense is better. And even though they're without Will Anderson, they're still better. So don't discount the Texans. This is going to be a tough game. We're going to see just how good the Detroit Lions are tonight. Welcome in, everybody. I appreciate you guys waiting for me today. I know it's been an odd week. Haven't really done a whole lot. Been battling this sickness. And matter of fact, as soon as I'm done here, I'm marching my butt back to urgent care to go get an x-ray just to make sure that it's not turning into pneumonia, because I think it is. So we'll see what happens. But I couldn't stay off and not talk about the Lions. I wish I was in Houston right now at NRG Stadium. They opened up the roof tonight. So, yes, the Lions are playing outdoors again. But this is Texas weather, Texas grass. So it's a little bit of a different feeling down in Texas. It'd be nice, warm night for football down there. I think it's going to be a great night for football, man. That stadium is incredible. It's on the bucket list. I was hoping to be there this year, but maybe, next season or season after, whenever we get a chance to play the Texans again. Who knows? Could be playoffs or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So let's just dive right into it. I don't know how many people we're going to get in here today, but let me make sure ads are just off right away, because I'm not going to jump in and do a live here after a few days and punish everybody with ads. Let me just get that done. So how's everybody's Sunday going so far? Early game today. I didn't get a chance to watch anything yet. 1 o'clock game's coming up. I was hoping to do this at noon so I could be done by 1 o'clock. But that just won't be the case, I guess. All right, we get ads off. Still get those likes up, please. Would appreciate it. Really helps out the channel. Helps the stream get to more Lions fans, Texans fans, you name it. But the first part of this, I wanna go over a few things that I've kind of been talking about the majority of the season and kind of what we're seeing right now. I mean, it's fitting to exactly what Brad Holmes did this offseason and during the draft. So there was 4 big keys, maybe 5, but 4 big keys for me for this Lions season to be a success. The first one was making sure that we kept opposing teams under 20 points. You guys know that I've been talking about that for a long time and how important it is to limit the other side, and the point differential has to be, on our side. We have to score at least 5, 6, 7 more points on offense than we're giving up on defense. So my biggest goal, that I started with this season is let's keep teams under 20 points. But how do we get there? Let me give you a little comparison just to kind of tell you guys where we were and where we are now. In 2023, the Lions let up an average of 23.2 points per game. Now, our offense was cooking. We were putting up 27.1 points per game. So you've got a full field goal plus of point differential that definitely helps you win football games. When you can, walk into a fourth quarter and you're up by more than, 4 points or whatever, you got to be feeling pretty good. At least for most teams, you would be. I mean, obviously, we've been walking into fourth quarters with double-digit leads for the majority of the season, it seems like. Now, in 2022, this was a tale of 2 halves, right? The first half, we scored a lot of points, but we weren't winning a lot of games. Second half, we were winning games. But the comparison is 25.1 points that the offense was, or the defense was allowing. But we were only putting up 26.6. So just a 1.5 differential between our offense and our defense, which you're not going to win many games. And look, the end story was 9-8, barely 9-8. I think we were pretty lucky to win 1 extra game that season than we lost. You just can't win games with a small separation like that. And if you look around the league, you're not going to see too many winning ball clubs with a short or narrowed point differential. But that was the clear difference for me last season. So we were putting up a little bit more than we were letting out. So here we are in 24. The Lions are doubling up the opponents, or close to it. 32.3 points for our offense. 18.5 points against for our defense. That is astonishing to me. I mean, what a huge difference in just one season. And you've got to be asking yourself, how is this possible? Is it just the offense? Did our defense wake up? Well, what is it? I would say both. But I don't think our offense has really done much more than what we've done in the last couple of seasons. We're just now more acclimated to the system. We have more weapons available to us now. Jamison Williams was a big part of the early part of the season. But for us to be, 14 points, point differential between offense, it's insane. So when you look at these numbers like I do, I know I get lost in the weeds with these numbers. I'm all day into the stats. But you guys know that I take a very big approach to watching the games too and watching the tape. And speaking of that, I apologize we weren't able to watch tape this week. We'll get back to it next week. But that was my biggest key to start. But again, the question is, how do you get there? So regardless of what was going to happen, my second point, regardless of what was going to happen with points, I figured that the first way to get there is we had to pony up on the interior pass rusher. The interior defensive line needed to be strengthened. And bang, Brad pulled one off and he brought in DJ Reader to match him up with Ali McNeil. And, as Eric said the other day on the morning show, DJ Reader's been this unsung hero. And the reason why is, you're not going to see a bunch of stats for this guy. He does all the dirty work. And it's something that I speak to often is there's going to be guys on this team that just don't have a bunch of stats. And that's fine. As long as you see what they're doing on the field and you recognize with them eating up the double teams, with them taking on, more defenders, with them getting, more attention paid to them, that does open up windows for other guys to succeed. So the interior pass rush to me, when you even go back to 2014 and you look at our defense then, one of the best defenses we've had in recent memory, the interior pass rush was the ticket. In my opinion, it's always been the way to the quarterback. It's been the biggest factor on defense when attacking the run game and the quarterback. So that was point number 2. Point number 3. Well, why does point number 2 even matter? Well, when you have a better interior pass rush, your back end of your defense can come up with more plays. So the Lions needed to bulk up the corners and the safeties in the offseason and draft, and they did just that. I was expecting Brad Holmes was going to walk into this offseason and attack both of those positions. And he did. Matter of fact, they changed out every corner on the team that played in 2023 minus Vildor and Dorsey. I mean, they brought back Emmanuel Mosley, but he really didn't play. I think everybody else is gone, outside of, I'm not talking about Branch and them, but pretty much everybody else is gone. So he stepped up big time in addressing the interior defensive line, and then he went to the back end and solidified our corners and our safeties, which, let's be real here. We've got 2 of the best safeties in the league. So point number 4 is when number 2 and 3 happen and they work well together, it's the turnover margin that was the next biggest key to making this work. I know a lot of people kept saying sacks and edge rushers and, more sacks are the way to win. And it's true and it's not true, right? It's part of the game. It's part of the process. For some teams, it works. For others, it's not necessary. But when you have an interior pass rush and a back end of a defense that is working, in harmony together, you're seeing great things happen right now for this defense. And matter of fact, it's been tested since week 6. And because Brad Holmes did what he did in addressing the back end of the defense and the interior, not much has changed. We've continued to reel off wins, and we've continued to get takeaways. If you give your offense more opportunities, though, and that's the next point, which is really, it's kind of point 4, point 5, or 4A, if you will. If you give your offense more opportunities by taking the ball away, you tend to win more games. You tend to limit the other offense. You have to capitalize. But that also includes being able to win the Super Bowl or get a chance to make it to a Super Bowl. The turnover margin is usually the biggest key to success for any team. You can't give the ball away and expect to win games. You have to limit your own mistakes and then capitalize on the opponent's mistakes. And the Lions are doing 1, 2, 3, and 4 incredibly well right now. And 4A. We are, number 1 in the league with turnover margin. I think we're leading the league now in interceptions. Correct me if I'm wrong. And our interior pass rush is been beautiful. The run game has been stopped. We still haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in over, 27 games. We've been close. I think the closest we were was last week. So it's working. This next topic, not so much about tonight's game, but it's the Super Bowl difference. Yep, we're talking about Super Bowl in week 10. Maybe early. No, I'm not going to jinx us. But we know one thing is 100% a lock over the last 10 Super Bowls. From 2022 back, so from, we'll call it 2013 forward to 2022, only because I have stats that really cover those, or that era anyway. Offense wins more than defense. And sacks are not the game changer in the playoffs, and if they don't include some sort of a 3 and out or, a long third down, post a sack or a big TFL because of the sack or whatever, if it doesn't get completed or if it, pushes teams out of field goal range or what would have been maybe a fourth down try potential is now too far away. They've got to punt the ball. Or what maybe would have been an extra shot at a touchdown, they have to kick a field goal. So unless a sack really turns into a negative play at the right time, it really doesn't do enough for a defense. Because how many times have we seen we get a sack and then it's 3rd and long, and the next thing you know, we let up a 20-yard play for a first down, or we let up a quarterback scramble for a first down, and we're right back where we were previous to the sack. Now, I'm not saying sacks can't help, right? I'm not saying that they're not worth it, because they are, and they can help, and they are a big part of the game. But they are not the ultimate game changer, in my opinion, that a lot of people give a lot of credence to. Simply put, if you have the most pressures and hurries, but no back-end support, are you putting your defense at risk? And if you look at the Lions' defense the last couple of seasons, prior to this season, I feel that's exactly what was happening. We would get a ton of pressure, so it forces the ball out a little bit quicker, and our guys couldn't stick. Even in 3 seconds, our guys were not able to stick. Ball's getting completed downfield. They're marching down the field. They're turning first down over first down. But yet we got a pressure. We didn't come away with a sack. We didn't get a negative play. We didn't get a turnover. We just kept getting burned. And I feel like it's exactly why the Lions routinely got beat for big gash plays, when even though we had a sack, coming, and every play seemed like we had someone in the backfield or just inches away from the quarterback. And then, whoop, there goes another pass for 20, or a run for 20, or a pass for 30, or whatever. I think you understand what I'm saying here. But had that turned into a turnover, a fumble, an interception, because we have a back-end defense that is working in unison, in harmony with that front end, that's what we have this year. Now when we're getting pressure, our guys are in the right spot. We have the right coverage. We got Arnold and Davis working hip to hip on these receivers. We got Branch and Kirby back there just waiting, right? They're hiding in the weeds, or blending with the wall, as they like to say. They're just popping out. They're snagging that thing like a cobra, man. That's awesome to watch. Lions have really made leaps and bounds over their defense in this last year. Now, when I say that offense wins more than defense in Super Bowls, there's a couple of situations where that's not the case. The 2016 Patriots, they had the number 1 ranked defense, and they had the number 3 ranked offense. That's pretty tough to do, to have both top 5 ranked offense defense. Does not happen very often for a Super Bowl winner. And then you had the 2015 Broncos. They had the number 4 ranked defense and the number 19 ranked offense. That is so lopsided, but they got it done. There you could point to their defense was probably helping out the Broncos a little bit more than the offense was. So 2 Super Bowl winning teams between 2013 forward had better defense than they did offense. Now, according to Fox Sports, I'm feeling a little better than ones. I'm still not all the way there, man. I actually still feel like crap, to be honest with you. According to Fox Sports, the 2023 Chiefs had the 9th best offense in the league. The Lions were 3rd last season. Let that sink in for just a moment. 3rd. We had a better offense than the Super Bowl winning Chiefs. But the Chiefs last year, they had the 2nd best defense in the league, again, per Fox Sports. So there's that 3rd anomaly. Now, you could go back 15 seasons, 15 Super Bowls, and you're only going to find 3 or 4 teams, I think there was one more, that had, I think it was the Seahawks, had a better defense than offense. Why is this important? When you look at what Brad Holmes has done and the way that he's drafted offense. He's gone heavy on offense for the first 3 seasons. He's addressed offense more than he did defense. And he knew that, defense typically can turn the corner a little bit quicker. Offense usually takes a little bit, especially offensive line if you're going to go that route. So let me recap a little bit about what the Chiefs did have last season. And I'm painting this whole picture for a reason here. So it'll all come, together and tied up in a bow here in a minute. 4th best in passing defense, 17th against the run. 2nd in scoring defense, 8th in the red zone. 10th on third downs. Though the regular season, or that was through the regular season, though, the Chiefs were the 2nd best in sacks. They had 57 last year in the regular season. But in the postseason, get this, the Lions actually had more sacks through their 3 playoff games with 8 than the Chiefs did in their 4 playoff games, including the Super Bowl. They had 7. The Chiefs in the regular season were 27th in interceptions. The Lions were 12th. In the postseason, the Chiefs were the 5th best team with 2 interceptions. The Lions were number 1. And that was only 3 games with 3 interceptions. The Chiefs only had 2. So the Chiefs had enough interceptions to get them into the Super Bowl, right? But they didn't have any in the Super Bowl. They did, however, win the fumble game in the Super Bowl. But overall, the turnover margin was a net 0. No points were scored off of any turnovers for either team. That's the difference with this team, with the Lions. They're scoring points off turnovers. They're getting the job done after they get the ball back more often than not. So after carefully analyzing the stats over like the previous 15 Super Bowl winning teams and looking at each roster and kind of where they had strengths and weaknesses, I began to evaluate the 2024 Lions ahead of the draft and free agency. And I started this really early, really early. Well, we just had some news pop up on my phone. I'll get to that in just a moment. I do this really early, in March. I started evaluating, actually in December, but in March, what do the Lions need to do? And during free agency, I expected the Lions to kind of go after corners primarily. I figured that they would bring in at least 1, maybe 2 made sense, depending on where they were picking, how much Brad can move up or not. And I predicted the Lions would back that up with a young rookie in the first round. So free agency, they would get 1, maybe 2. They got 2. And then in the draft, I figured they'd still get 1 really early. Unless an edge was available. And again, in the mid rounds, they would stack another corner to kind of solidify what they've been building on during the offseason and really shore up that position for the future. Now, after Jared Verse and Turner were gone, it didn't make sense for the Lions to go edge. And I think a lot of us were expecting something along the defensive line if there was an opportunity. I just think that Brad was having trouble moving up far enough to be able to get ahead of some of the teams. And it was a really weird draft that no defensive players were taken until I think it was pick 15. So I predicted again, leading up the draft that Terry Arnold would have been the best fit for the Lions. And clearly Brad Holmes felt the same way, made his move, doubled down in the second round and also picked up Rakestraw. I thought that Vaki was a perfect pick to the Lions in the third round, and that happened too. And man, has he turned out to be this gadget guy that has such a bright future for us, especially with special teams the way that he's been playing. But I had a clear vision for this team, what they needed, where this team was going, how could they get better, what's the quickest way to get better, to have the best impact on 2024, and then beyond. And how do you sustain it and keep the Super Bowl window open, or at least alive and well for a few seasons? Today, I'm going to sit here and tell you guys, I'm extremely happy as a Lions fan that's been waiting for so long to finally see a product on the field that is this good. Performing, developing depth. I don't think that there's a team out there doing it better right now. I really don't. And I'm going through all this because last night I wrote something on Twitter that I don't know, just this rash of emotion, I guess, was coming over me that I can't believe we're here. And I don't want to feel like, I don't know, I don't want to say the Lions fans are a bit conceited right now, or we're kind of in this dreamy land, like we just think that we belong here. It took a lot of work to get here. It took a lot of failures to get here. And it can be ripped away in a heartbeat. And I think this season we've kind of witnessed that. Injury after injury after injury. It can all be taken away in a heartbeat. But something is keeping this team alive. What is it? What is keeping this team alive? How are we able to navigate through all of these injuries and still go out there and win games and put a damn good product on the field? Other teams can't do this. I mean, look what just happened to the Packers. They had a few bumps and bruises, and they couldn't do anything. They're supposed to be the better outdoor team, right? Lions can't play outdoors. We go in there and smash them right in the mouth and get it done. It's the coach. It's Brad Holmes. It's the culture. It's the identity. It's sticking to the process and doing the right thing every single day, day in and day out, and finding the right guys to fit this team. And that's why you're not seeing certain players come to this team or certain positions come to this team, because they're probably just not the right fit. So today we talk about Texans and Lions. And today is about where this team is and where it's headed and how the improvement is really undervalued by so many that I don't see it. And I want to make damn sure people realize that this team is different. And there are reasons why. But I'm extremely proud of this team. I'm extremely proud to be a Lions fan and witness the greatness that is happening. And I hope it sticks around for a long time. I really do. But the one thing that we know is that it won't stick around if they just spend lavishly and foolishly and bring in the wrong personnel. So this is a great era to be alive right now. We've been waiting for this. My father's been waiting for this. Your father, I mean, your family, your grandfathers, if they're still around, they've all been waiting for this. And it's here. So let's enjoy it. Now, if you've ever needed a reason to subscribe to this channel, just know that this is the work that I try to do. I will always try to come with the facts and the stats and the analytics, combined with long hours of research, years of history and knowledge of the game as a coach, as a season ticket holder, watching thousands of games, analyzing, studying film, trying to get better, taking classes to get better, just going deeper and harder than most ever will or willing to. It's all about the love of the game for me. The enjoyment of the subscribers to the channel. Lions fans that I get to meet and communicate with all the time. You guys are the reason why I'm here. And I appreciate all of you. And I thank all of you for putting in the work that it takes to show up and watch and listen and subscribe and like. I mean, it takes two to tango, as Dan always likes to say, right? But we're starting to see the fruits of the labor of this channel, and we're getting a lot of things right. And it doesn't happen for everybody. But I wouldn't be here doing this work if it wasn't for you. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate you being here. So shout out to all of you. All right. So we kind of ended on DBs a little bit in that opening monologue there. Lions defense. Let's talk about that for just a moment. The defensive backs and the back seven. Where have the Lions improved the most this season? And why are they winning games? I think it's fairly easy to see that the back seven of this defense has improved greatly. The addition of Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson started a change that has been fun to watch. Very, very fun to watch develop, to be honest with you. Terry and Arnold couldn't have been a better choice. He took his lumps early. He gave up some big plays, some big penalties, and he's now settling in. And he's playing very solid football right now in man coverage. He's taken on some big assignments. I mean, he even had Calvin Ridley. He had Justin Jefferson for a few. And he played well. Played very well. He has yet to get his hands on his first interception. That's all right. Sauce Gardner didn't get an interception. I don't think he got one. It's his first year. I don't know. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. I don't think he did. Or he may have gotten one. He didn't get a lot. I know that. But Taryn, he just needs to keep playing sticky coverage, man. That's all he needs to do. Penalty-free football and just stay sticky. I love his aggressive play style, and it's working. Now, he is allowing 102.2 passer rating, which is honestly better than all of the Lions starters last season. By a wide margin, too. Let that sink in. But why is that number so high? And don't forget this. When we're up by double-digit leads, you guys know the defense that Aaron Glenn plays that not everybody enjoys. It's that bend but don't break. It's the soft shell, right? The medium zones. It's kind of keep everything under 9 yards. And sometimes they break one. Or sometimes there's a mistake and they break one for 20. So that's why I believe his numbers are a little skewed. That's why a lot of our DB's numbers are a little skewed. But if you watch the game and you see how they play, those numbers don't add up because they're playing much better than what the stats are telling us. Now, Carlton Davis, man, has he been a welcomed addition. I wish that Brad would have locked him up for 2 years, but clearly he wanted to see, could he stay healthy? Could he actually play an entire season? Now, he's taken on the majority of the number one assignments this season. He's played very well enough to keep points off the board, especially when it matters. He's making some solid plays. He's only allowing an average of 63% reception rate. That's not terrible. He's been banged up this season already. He's taken some lumps. He's had a few penalties. He's playing through injuries, though. He's getting his butt back on the field, that was probably the biggest thing that people had to say about him was that he's too soft. He takes too many plays off, and he doesn't play through injuries. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. He's been a sure tackler. He's only missing 12% of his tackles this season. That's pretty dominant. And he's also been dominating in the run game support. He is currently and quietly having his third best season statistically so far, even against his Super Bowl season. So his third best season so far. I hope he continues to get better. Of course, as the season progresses, we'll see how they develop. No interceptions yet, but again, he needs to do the same thing that TA is doing. Just play aggressive, play sticky, stay in your zones. He has picked up a couple of fumble recoveries. Just keep doing what you're doing, man. That's all we got to do. Just keep on keeping on. Now there's Amik the Freak Robertson. Really love this dude, man. He's just such a dog in there. He really is. He's really shown to be an absolute dog. That sometimes, he makes a boneheaded play here or there. I mean, he got a ghost flag the other day for, I still don't know what. But more often than not, he's making big plays. He's taken on any role, any assignment. He's constantly trying to punch balls out, and he's successful with it. He's forced 2 fumbles this season already, both picked up by the Lions defense. He's only letting up a 59% completion rate and a 95 passer rating. Again, not too shabby for the former Raider. Another dominant run defense chess piece, averaging a 90 PFF score against the run. Now, it's very clear, if you look back at last season, the best PFF grades that our DBs had were against the run game. So it's really clear to me that Brad Holmes only wants one type of guy. And that is a guy that will defend the run. That is a guy that will play smash mouth football and loves to go bang it in the box. I said the same thing last season, that the Lions only like to bring in this type of player. And it's true. I got mocked for saying that because we wanted, sticky shutdown corners, which that comes, right? That's part of the territory. But if you only have that and not the guy that likes to bang it down in the box and shut down the run, well, then maybe we don't have the success that we're having right now by making teams one-dimensional. If they're able to run the ball, they're going to be able to pass the ball. Right now, we're just shutting down the run, might give up a few pass yards, but eventually the walls close in on these offenses. When they can only do one thing, and then they can't do it very well, ball's in our court. There's a funny quote by Kyle Brandt the other day that I picked up. And I thought it was fitting. He says, this is what happens when you become a dominant team like the Lions that nobody can figure out. And I got to thinking, like, man, what does he really mean by this? And I think it's just who the Lions are. On the offensive side of the ball, if you want to come into the box and try to shut us down in the run game, hey, that's cool. We're just now going to throw it right over the middle to Amon-Ra St. Brown, medium zone. And we're going to do it over and over and over until you back up. And then the minute you back up and then you send in a blitz, we're going to delay counter and send Jahmyr Gibbs up the middle for a 15-yard touchdown on 4th and 2. Well, then you're going to try to play both sides. And then we're just going to go over top to JMO. And I know I've said this a couple of times the last few days, but that's what happens when you can't figure a team out. And when a team is so multiple, they can do anything at any time out of any scheme that we line up in, that we can just do it. Doesn't matter. We can run it. We can throw it. We can do short screens. We can do it all outside zone, inside zone. It doesn't matter. We have the personnel now to do whatever we want. So I thought it was a fitting quote by Kyle Brandt. It really was. All right, a couple other things here. I think I want to get to a couple of quotes here. I will in just a moment anyway. Let's talk about this Texans defense for just a moment. Now, I've been saying that this is going to be a tough challenge because it is. We haven't seen a defense like this before. Hey, Riley. Who else we got in there? Kneecap just showed up too. Well, welcome in, guys. Motown Mitch. Josh Jackson. Chemistry, accountability, passion, unselfishness. Perfect, dude. That's what it's all about. Texans defense. Aggressive. Wide 9 format. Very, very, very difficult defense. Lions have not faced a defense like this. A defense that can get after Jared Goff. And they can force Jared into mistakes. They can make the O-line's day very, very difficult. Especially the tackles. If they're not moving fast enough to cut off the edge. And of course, now we're down Taylor Decker. Which honestly, he has not been playing. He hasn't been playing like himself. And he's been kind of slow off the edge. But I have a feeling after today, we're probably going to say, man, we wish we would add Taylor Decker back. We'll see. We'll see what Hank Fraley and Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell do to shore up the blind side. I hope it's Penei Sewell. I hope that they put Penei on the left side. I wouldn't want anybody else on the blind side of Jared Goff today. Unless they're going to put, a tight end and a tackle over there all day. That just has me worried. So, DeMeco Ryans and defensive coordinator Matt Burke, they employ a base 4-2-5 nickel defense. So the defense that we are in that allows that bend but don't break mentality, that's the 4-2-5. And this means they typically have 4 down linemen, right? 2 linebackers and 5 defensive backs on the field, running a nickel the majority of the time. And it's what can limit the Lions offense the most. Maybe. And that's a big maybe. Because it's also the same style of defense that we like to pick apart. It just depends on how quickly that they can get in on Jared Goff today. The Texans are not 100% healthy. They're missing a few pieces. But this defense is maybe, quite possibly, the deepest of all rosters. And matter of fact, let me pull up the depth chart and roll through what I mean by that. Okay, so on the defensive side of the ball, you got Will Anderson Jr., who I believe is out today. And then behind him, you had Derek Barnett, and I think he is also out today. Let me get it open here. Okay, so out for the Texans today so far, Dameon Pierce, running back, Will Anderson Jr., they're both out, groin. Questionable. Nico Collins, I think he was actually elevated off of IR. Potentially going to be making his debut tonight. Tank Dell, questionable. Jerry Hughes, defensive end with a hip. Foley Fatukasi, defensive tackle with a groin. Jake Hansen with a ankle. And Jeff Okuda with a quad. I could care less if Jeff Okuda plays or not. So that's a little bit better report than what came out initially. So if they're without Will Anderson, I mean, that's just not much on the defensive side of the ball. It really isn't. See, I thought Jeff Okuda was on injured reserve. I don't know why he would be listed as questionable. I thought he was on IR. And who else was on IR? I don't see Barnett listed anymore. Okay, so if Barnett's in, he's obviously going to jump over Will Anderson. Then they have Tim Settle at defensive tackle. They have Fatukasi, Daniil Hunter, who primarily plays on the right side, which would be Jared Goff's blind side. And that's why I'd rather see Penei Sewell. It doesn't mean that he can't move around, because he absolutely can. I think it would be very interesting if you saw Penei Sewell on the left side and Will Anderson moves to the right and Penei Sewell just follows him. Wouldn't that be crazy? If you saw an offensive lineman go in motion to go line back up on the other side? That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? I don't think we could do it, though. I don't think we could pull it off. But just listen to these names behind, the starters here. So starters, Jimmy Ward, safety, Jalen Petrie, Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley, Henry Tutu, Christian Harris, Aziz Al-Shair, Daniil Hunter, Fatukasi, and Tim Settle. And then behind them, Derek Barnett, Khalil Davis, Danico Autry, Devin White, Kalen Bullock was a rookie, I believe. So they're pretty deep. Pretty deep. The fact that they have Danico Autry as a second stringer should tell you something. I'm sure he's going to get plenty of snaps tonight. Pretty deep defense. So Ben Johnson is going to have to scheme away from this defense as much as possible. And I say scheme away versus what we have been doing. It's just my opinion. We've been kind of taking defenses head on. Like we've been going head up on these defenses, not going away from them. And that is a lot of brass balls by Ben Johnson and Hank Fraley and Dan Campbell to say, you know what? Our man is better than your man. And we're just going to go right at you. We'll even tell you what we're going to run. Just try to stop us. Hence the reason why the news I was going to read. Matt LaFleur was so pissed off last week because that's exactly what we did. It's 4th and 2. And we jam it down their throat with Gibbs up the middle for a 15-yard touchdown on 4th and 2. And Matt LaFleur looks at the sideline and just says, F off. He was fined $68,000 for those two choice words. Whether it was to Dan Campbell or Ben Johnson, who knows? But that's just how good we are, right? And how much balls this team has. So I just think it's crazy. But in this game, I have a feeling that we're going to try to scheme away a little bit, especially because of the fact that we're missing Taylor Decker. And I know some of you are probably thinking, yeah, but what has he really been doing lately? Look, he's still Taylor Decker. I mean, he's still one of the best tackles in the league. And he's gone up against really incredible opponents all season long. And he's done a pretty good job. So I think it's only fitting that they're going to try to scheme away. Now, here's a few quotes. This is brought up on the Texans website about Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson on the Texans defense. He says, and this is Ben Johnson quote, "We have faced some really good ones now over the last few weeks, and this is a challenge just like all the other ones have been. Different style. We really haven't seen a team quite like this year. The wide nine front. They're attacking. They're penetrating. They're really disruptive, and they're really well coached." All true. Quarterback Jared Goff on the Texans defense. He says, "They're good. They're really good. They're really well coached. They remind me of San Francisco. No surprise. Back when I was in LA in the division, San Francisco, when D'Amico was there, it was similar. Very good defense and a good up front. Good at the linebacker position, good at the defensive backs, really well coached, sound. They do a good job." Now, are they saying all this just to... Nah, I won't say it. Never mind. And then you had Johnson on the Texans defensive front. He says they've got talent all over the place right now, and this scheme seems to elevate some guys up front for them. I mean, they're just raging off the football. It's hard to simulate it in practice. We're going to try to get our show team to do it over the course of the week. But unless you're in it for an extended period of time, it's really hard to do and give us the right look. They're really good at it. They disrupt the quarterback. They make it hard on offensive linemen. They make it hard on tight ends, with the defensive ends going right through the V of their neck half the time. So it's a lot of going on, So it's a lot going on. And just like you said, the edge guys get a lot of attention. But interior, they can push the pocket and get on the quarterback's lap in a hurry. So I think it's a testament to that would be 3rd and 7 to 10 this week. I've got to call it 27 clips on my cut up, only 3 conversions and 8 sacks. I really haven't seen anything quite like that. So they're doing a phenomenal job, not just on 3rd down, but really throughout. This is a team that thrives on creating negative plays, and it starts up front. See, it's the negative plays for me. That's why I'm so keyed in on negative plays. And yes, sacks are negative plays. They have to be, right? But it's when do you get the negative plays? And if they're getting a lot of negative plays on 3rd down, that's going to be tough tonight. It's really going to be tough. Ben Johnson doesn't seem to treat 3rd downs traditionally like other teams. Sometimes it seems like we're running 2nd down on 1st down, and we're running 1st down on 3rd down. It's all over the place. And that is what's so difficult about our offense. It's so difficult to figure out when Ben is really mixing it up. Like I call him the mixologist. When he's really mixing it up in his bag, you can't figure out what this guy's doing. I expect a lot to be on Jared Goff's shoulders tonight. He's going to have to figure out what this defense is doing. He's one of the best at reading defenses, but he's going to have to do it quick. He's going to have to get into the right calls. Frank Ragnow is going to have a very difficult night. Very, very difficult night. And honestly, between the guards, I'm more concerned with who's going to be at left tackle, like I said, but I'm also more concerned with what's going on in the middle of our offensive line tonight. Between Graham and Zeitler, there's going to be a lot of action. If we can just hold those guys away and give Jared Goff the 2.7 seconds that he needs, we should be okay. Is it possible? I don't know. We'll find out. So a little bit more about this Texans defense. A little bit of a breakdown on their scheme. Multiple fronts. Their base is a 4-2-5. Like I said, the Texans utilize multiple fronts and formations to kind of keep offenses guessing. They can shift to a 3-4 or even bring in extra rushers depending on the situation. Like I said a minute ago, Jared's no fool. He's going to have to recognize, whether you have extra DBs or linebackers in or extra rushers in. The issue here is missing Decker and how the Lions are going to limit the offense to cover that huge hole. I have a feeling that we are going to, I said this earlier too, that we are going to see how important Decker really is to this offense tonight. Zone coverage. The Texans primarily rely on zone coverage in the secondary, with their defensive backs working together to cover specific areas on the field. This does help them limit big plays and force quarterbacks to make precise throws, but the issue is we love zone. Our offense plays well against zone. We can sit down and find the little pockets. Amon-Ra is one of the best to do it. He will find the pockets to sit down in and Jared to get him the ball. The question is whether those pockets are going to be there and if Jared's going to be under pressure. If Jared's in the shotgun all night tonight, that does limit what we can do in the run game. This is not a game that we want to have to throw the ball 50 times. And it might end up being that way. It could be. We'll see. In the zone coverage, though, like I said, this is where we do our best business. If the Texans get caught in zone, though, like I said, this is where Amon-Ra is going to have a pretty good day underneath. If they play a short zone, I think that this is where Jameson Williams is going to get, re-involved or back involved into the offense again, and he'll get up over top of this defense. If we can get him deep a couple of times and sit these guys back on their heels, that will help to open up a few things. Play action is going to have to be extremely important tonight. If we're not able to get the run going for whatever reason, which I wouldn't expect, then I do think that there's going to be some other options for us. If they disguise their blitzes, which they do very well at, they're very known for disguising their blitzes, bringing pressure from unexpected angles, especially in the wide nine. I mean, they're coming from far out. This creates confusion for opposing quarterbacks. But again, I think that Jared is one of the best at recognizing what's happening. It can lead to sacks, and which can lead to fumbles and turnovers, which hopefully doesn't happen tonight. Disguising the blitz, though, it's going to be key for the Texans. If Jared picks it up, though, if he picks up on it early and has the right calls in, I believe that both Sonic and Knuckles are going to eat up the middle, utilizing delayed handoffs, counters, misdirection, isolation plays, and just driving against the blitz, right? Big gains, big yards up the middle. We've done it all season. I don't know why that would stop tonight. Another option is finally letting the screen game open up. We haven't seen a whole lot in the screen game. I don't like the outside screen game. I don't like the off the end the screen game. I like the screen game that's kind of more in front. And that means that Jared is going to have to be a little bit mobile tonight. There you go. I like that. Kneecap Biting says, we have a top 5 scoring defense versus their 30th red zone defense. Love it. So that's another point. When we get down in the red zone, the Texans, they haven't been the best there. So appreciate you for bringing that up. We just have to get there. We have to get into the red zone to be able to utilize it against them, right? Getting into the red zone is going to be the problem. Are we going to be able to march, 60, 70, 80 yards and get into the red zone first? Strengths for this defensive front, obviously, is the defensive line. The Texans have invested heavily in their defensive line, which is arguably their strongest unit. They have a good mix of run stuffers and pass rushers, allowing them to be effective both against the run and the pass. Aggressive play style, we've seen it, right? But this is a little bit different. These guys fly, man. They fly to the ball. They like to hit just like we do. They like to intimidate their opponents just like we do. This is going to be a game where we're seeing a lot of ourselves on the other side of the ball. Consistency is what's going to be the difference here. The Texans have really shown some brilliance and flashes of brilliance, but can they also be inconsistent at times? Yes, they can be. If they can't maintain tonight and we can find those little ways to get after them, I expect Ben Johnson, to kind of poke and prod and find a gap and then utilize it, to his benefit. For me, here's what I think the Lions are going to do. I think that we're going to see As much as I would love to see two running backs tonight, consistently in the backfield, we might see a tight end, line up in the H-back again, which I think is going to be critical tonight. So we could have some 20s. We could have some 21 personnels, 22s. But I think that the Lions are going to live probably inside the 12 and 13. More so 12 personnel. We will see 11 personnel. We always do. But I think that we're probably going to live inside that 12 to 21 to 22 personnel tonight. Going heavy. Extra tight ends. Extra jumbo sets with Skip. I'm not sure. Does anyone know if there's been a call yet on who's going where? I haven't seen anything. Has anyone seen if Skip's going to get a shot tonight? I'm really thinking that since they brought up Jamarco Jones, that it only makes sense that they put Penei Sewell to the left side, Jamarco to the right. I was really impressed with Jamarco in the preseason. I thought he played extremely well. And I would rather have him, off to the right side, which is, it's open, right? I mean, Jared can see. So he knows if he needs to dump the ball quickly or not. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if Graham Glasgow moves to right tackle and they put Jamarco Jones in at left guard or something like that. Yeah, Will Akers, I agree there, man. The musical chairs. And that's another person you mentioned, Coyote Iwasaka. I mean, he could also come in at left guard and you bump out, Graham Glasgow to right tackle. Graham can play anywhere along the offensive line. He really can. And I want to say that Jamarco Jones is more comfortable at right tackle. I don't think I'm mistaken there. I think that he would naturally be better at right tackle. I don't know what his splits are, though, and I'm not really going to look them up right now. I probably should have earlier. But anyway, that's your Texans defense that we're going up against tonight. Tim Twentyman had a few things to talk about. His first point was can Detroit's offense keep it rolling against a very good Houston defense? It looks like he outlined a few things, as far as our points per game. Again, outlined a few things about Ben Johnson's quotes. And the Texans rank second in total defense. They're only allowing 281.7 yards per game. Third against the pass, 167.4 yards. First in yards per play, only 4.92 yards per play. Second in tackles for loss. They have 59 tackles for loss. That's incredible. Fourth in sacks with 29. And second in passes defensed at 49. So, I mean, it's not just the defensive line we're going up against here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a good all-around defense. All-around defense. Really, really, really tough. Now, this is not me being, anything other than realistic. This is the game that I expected us to drop. It wasn't the Cowboys, right? It was, I expected us to drop the Cardinal game and this game. That was it. But throughout the first 8 games, I did not really see us losing. It was so hard to find a loss. The fact that we lost one to the Tampa Bay Bucks, I was a bit shocked. But I was also kind of glad that it came early. This could be a game that we drop. It could be. And you know what? Don't worry about it if it is. I would hate to see, if all the other, you see the updates in here, if Chicago's losing and the Vikings are, if everyone's losing, yeah, I would hate to see us drop a game when we could go up, even more so. When I look at the Texans schedule, and if you're just going based on who they've played and what they've been able to do, let's run through their schedule real quick. Texans and Colts. They barely beat the Colts in opening week, but that's week 1. So it's just week 1. Like, it is so difficult to figure out your opponent in week 1. But the fact that they almost lost to the Colts, that makes me feel a little better. They almost lost to the Bears. That makes me feel really good in week 2. They got smoked by the Vikings in week 3. They barely beat the Jags in week 4. They barely beat the Bills in week 5, and the Bills is a pretty good team. They smoked the Patriots, as they should have. The Packers beat the Texans. So that doesn't make me feel good, right? If the Packers beat them and the Vikings beat them and the Bears almost got to them, you would think just based off of those 3 games, we should be able to beat the Texans and should be able to beat them handily. And I'm expecting a win. But this is a tough defense. And then in the second game against the Colts, right? So week 1 and then what, week 8? Week 8. They almost lost to the Colts again. Barely won by 3 points. And then the Jets. The Jets beat the Texans last week. Or on October 31st. So there's that. And they've got a 10-day rest period. So they've had 10 days to prepare for the Lions. I don't know if anybody's talking about that. But they've had a little bit of extra time in this game. Or in between games to be able to get prepared for what is going to be the best team they've seen all season. I have seen the rumors that Darius Smith may not be playing tonight. Don't know if it's been confirmed. I don't think it's going to be confirmed until, about 6 p.m. tonight, I think is when the final report comes out, about 90 minutes prior to the game. I believe is when, if it already isn't, I don't think it's out yet. All right, so the Lions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5. Yeah, and I'm really not happy about losing Isaiah Williams. That one hurts. Just looking at the wide receivers right now, that one really hurts. Man, I can't believe we had to let him go. But I can't believe that Brad thought that he would clear waivers. That one stings. That kid has got so much potential. Let's just hope something happens and he gets an opportunity to come back. But this is a tough roster to stay on. It really is. We are so deep in so many areas, and we need certain players right now. So it looks like the Lions do have... They got Dan Skipper, looks like he's projected to be the left tackle tonight. I sure as hell hope not. I would rather see him at right tackle. That scares me. Love Skip. Absolutely love Skip. I just don't know if he's left tackle material. He's been around a minute, but this one worries me quite a bit. And I hope he has the best game of his life tonight if he's in there at left tackle. Let's just hope that we have plenty of chips dialed up with a little extra dip on the side because we're going to need it. All right, so defensively, what are we expecting tonight? I think that we're expecting what we've been doing. We're going to get Josh Paschal back, which is a huge benefit to this defense. We've survived without him. This has been a defense that has been challenged in so many ways since week 6. I mean, losing Aiden was huge. And then each week, it seems like we keep dropping, players like flies. Still without, Derek Barnes, who is now gone to IR, and Rodrigo, I believe, is also ruled out for tonight's game. So we keep losing guys, and I just don't know of another team that has been through this much in a season that has been able to maintain and win games the way that they have. And where I kind of started this whole thing tonight, it's like, this truly is a team of 69. And now the more that I hear Dan saying that, and I've said this before, I wish he wouldn't have said it because maybe we wouldn't have suffered so many injuries. But man, is he right that it's foolish to look at your team as 53 players and expect that, that they're going to last. He looks at this team, Brad looks at this team as 69 guys that at any minute could be called up, and they've got to be ready. And this team is getting so deep, and I think that that's why you're seeing us win games. We're winning games because of how much intensity this team plays with, how much intensity this team practices with, the type of coaches that we have. And in having Terrell Williams, I've got to tell you, I think that Terrell Williams has been nothing short of a genius this season. The way that he's moved these guys around and put them in a position to win on this defensive line with players that haven't played edge, right? Maybe don't belong at edge, and they're doing a great job. Pascal never really had an opportunity to play edge, and now he does. And he's doing a pretty good job. I really believe that we need Dariussmith tonight, at least for a little bit. I hope that, what Ian Rappaport put out at 2 o'clock in the morning is not accurate, saying that Dariussmith is not quite ready. I would think that he knows enough. He's been around enough defenses, defensive minds to know how to blitz, when to blitz, and how to get after the quarterback. I think he knows that. If he has one job, get to the quarterback, and that's it. I'm sure we got plenty of plays for that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But defensively, I'm expecting the Lions to still do what they've been doing. They're going to have to limit what C.J. Stroud does with his legs. If we can't limit C.J. Stroud, then we're going to have some difficulty. That's the most important thing tonight. C.J. Stroud cannot get loose. And if he does, it's going to be a long night. And we know that. We've been there before. Joe Mixon is a running back. Matter of fact, let's take a look at his stats real quick. 609 rushing yards on the season. He's averaging 4.8 yards per rush. He's got 6 TDs on the year. In the passing game, he hasn't been utilized a ton, but when he is, he's catching, an average pass 8.2 yards. He's got 1 TD through the air. But on the ground is where he's dangerous. He can hurt us. So they're going to have to contain Stroud to be able to contain Mixon. Yeah, John, not only are you late, buddy, but I'm about done. I got to head over to the old urgent care here to go get an x-ray of the chest. So Levi will be taking CJ's lunch money, says Craig Hogue. I hope so, man. All right, so let's finish this off with some predictions tonight. BB pick 6 with flipping the crowd off. I so got to get one of those shirts made, man. I have to get some of those shirts made. Maybe we'll use them for Rockdown Cancer Foundation or something and sell them. I don't know. I think that's hilarious. All right, so what's your predictions for tonight? Lions winning? Is it going to be a close one? $32-21 says kneecap biting. I like it. Winning by double digits, though. Craig Hogue says 35-24. Again, double digits. Riley O'Brien, 30-27. Close game. Tarantino, 38-17. More double digits. I'm going to look up a few here. So we've got One person says 30-24 Lions, 31-24 Lions, 42-38 Texans. That's a big night of scoring. 34-21 Lions, 27-17 Lions, 33-24 Lions. Everyone is picking the Lions except for one person. And then, of course, one person picked the tie. It's always that one person. Let's see what Fox Sports has to say. So right now, the Lions are still the favorites at 3.5 points. And their official prediction is 28-20 Texans. Or 28-20 Lions, sorry. Well, for me, I think this game is going to come down to what happens with our offensive line. If Skip is in and he can man the left side, which is going to be very, very difficult. Very, very difficult against Danielle Hunter. Like we've seen Danielle Hunter a few times. We know what he's all about. And we've handled him before. But we didn't handle him with Skipper. If he can somehow manage to play mistake-free football, not a whole bunch of penalties getting us in trouble, that's the biggest problem, right? We can't have a bunch of penalties. We can't have false starts. Can't have a bunch of holds. But at the same time, you can't allow Jared Goff to get crushed. You just can't. Take the penalty. Do not let Jared Goff get crushed. It's just one game. And I hope that they understand that it's just one game. We need Jared for the next, many games. But assuming our offensive line can actually allow our run game to get going, I can see where the Lions put up 28 points. Jake Bates clearly can make field goals. I'm not afraid of us kicking a couple of field goals tonight. Well, that's a good stat too. Kneecap says CJ Stroud is the second most sacked quarterback in the league. And that's another good point. I mean, can our defense have, good success against their offensive line? We're going to need it. We're going to have to keep CJ Stroud bottled up, preferably on his back, but bottled up, making bad decisions. We need to win the turnover margin tonight. So I'm going to go +2 on the turnovers tonight. Lions are going to win the turnover margin. And I'm going to go 28. I'm going to go 28-23 Lions. I don't think this is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a grinded out kind of a game. I think it's going to be an exciting game. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Lions hang a 40 burger on them and walk out of this game injury free and get on to the next one. I really hope so. But I'm going to go 28-23. Lions win. Good game. We'll see you guys here in a little bit. I'm going to head off, and I should be back around, 6:30. what time does the game start? 8:20. So I'll be back around 7:30. We'll get rolling for the live stream. I'm going to do the live stream tonight, as long as my lungs can hold up. And we'll do a quick post-game show tonight, and then we'll get back at it in the morning with the morning show. Assuming everything's all good, we'll see you guys here in a little bit. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. You guys take care.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights, with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs, with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from uperlights.com.